Okay, here's a quick summary of the dwarf planets. This will be pretty quick. Here they are. We have Ceres, Pluto, and then there's Eris hanging out right over here. Eris. Please don't be misled by this picture. The dwarf planets are not hanging below the rest of the planets. They're just offset to show their position. Ceres belongs right here in the asteroid belt. Pluto belongs here past Neptune. And Eris belongs here past Pluto. Don't worry about this 2003 UB313 thing. That's its old catalog number. But you should definitely know its order. That Ceres is here in the asteroid belt. Pluto right over here after Neptune. And then Eris after that. Alright, so let's take a look at Ceres. This is the closest dwarf planet to Earth, named after the goddess of agriculture. It has one moon. Here it is compared to our moon, so it's really quite small. And one thing to note about this is that this used to be an asteroid. And back when they decided that dwarf planets need to come into play, this guy here was promoted from an asteroid to a dwarf planet because it's round, it goes around the sun, but it does cross paths with other objects. There's no symbol that we're going to get into with the dwarf planet, so you don't need to worry about it. If you're going for the extra credit, just know the symbols for the terrestrial and Jovian planets. Alright, here's Pluto. You don't know Pluto here. It used to be a planet and now is a dwarf planet. It's the first named dwarf planet. And one thing that's a little bit lesser known about Pluto is that it has 5 moons. They used to think it just had one, and that's grown. In fact, they just discovered a couple of those moons last year, this last summer. They discovered a couple of those moons. They call them P4 and P5. I'm not even sure if they have names yet besides P4 and P5. If you want to know the symbol for Pluto, I know it's this. It's a P with an L coming off of there. You can include that in your extra credit bank if you want. I don't know the symbols for Ceres and Eris yet. I'm sure I could look them up, though, but I'm going to pass on it. Alright, and lastly we have Eris. This guy here is the furthest dwarf planet. It's double the distance from Earth as Pluto, and it has one moon. This is kind of a crude picture. This is the first picture that was taken of it. So here's the actual planet itself, and here's its moon right over here. So this was discovered back in 2003. It was the last discovered dwarf planet, and again it has one moon. One special property is that it's the furthest dwarf planet from Earth, named after the goddess of chaos, Eris. So that'll do it for us in our discussion of the dwarf planets. Again, we had Eris over here, the furthest from the Earth, has a moon. We have Pluto, first dwarf planet, it's got 5 moons. And we have Ceres over here, the closest to Earth, and has 1 moon. Now, you don't need to go and memorize how many moons each one of the dwarf planets has. I put those there for reference. One thing that's kind of interesting, though, is that all the dwarf planets have moons, but yet all the terrestrial planets don't. There's only 2 that do. I just think that's kind of an interesting thing about it. If you have any questions, please feel free to send them along in Edmodo or just ask me in class tomorrow.